Welcome to Vigorous PEDs. I'm Coach Steve. Let's talk about Cialis or Tadalafil, however you want to call it. And before we get started, let me just remind you guys that YouTube comment section is not a source board, so don't even bother asking. Just stop it. Do your own research. Yeah, see what the legal status is. Get it on prescription. If you can't get it on prescription, I'm not going to be the one to recommend you to get it besides what your local law is allowing you to do or not. That's your choice, your responsibility. Please don't bring that to the comment fields. All right. Why do I take Cialis? I take it mainly to reduce blood pressure and instill spontaneous erections. Actually, no, that's not the case. I use it for blood pressure management mostly because when you're on PEDs, blood pressure is going to go up a little bit, sometimes a little bit more, and it really goes on a dose-dependent fashion. So when you're on hormone replacement, or generous hormone replacement, or a cruise, or a moderate cycle, blood pressure shouldn't change that much. Now, we'll have to exclude the hereditary factors, the body fat levels, predisposition to high blood pressure. Let's just keep it general. I can't diagnose everybody over the internet. So if you have high blood pressure before you started a cycle, your blood pressure is probably going to be higher on cycle. Cialis might be a way to prevent that. But if you're already on blood pressure medications and you add Cialis on top, you might drop your blood pressure a little bit too much. Yeah. So again, you know best what you're doing in your scenario. And you're going to have to make a choice what to do and how to incorporate certain PEDs, yeah, or decide not to incorporate them because of the risks. Yeah? That's your responsibility. Please do your own research before applying something to your protocol. Why do I take it and when do I take it? One of them is blood pressure management. The second one is opening up the capillaries, increase blood flow to stubborn body fat areas like lower back, lower chest, the glutes. It helps to transport fat away when you're dieting. Unfortunately, it probably also helps with fat storage while you're bulking because, again, with the blood flow means more transport of nutrients, triglycerides, glucose, etc. through all parts of the body, which are normally a little bit poorly circulated. So during prep, during the cutting phase, it's beneficial just to take the stored body fat away because you get more blood flow in those stubborn fat areas by opening up the capillaries a little bit more, allowing for triglycerides to come out, losing body fat in that sense. And it might mean that you store body fat just the same in the same areas because, when you're in a calorie surplus and the capillaries are opened, all that body fat might return. You're going to have to make a decision. When you're in a calorie surplus and you're eating a mountain of food and moving a ton of weight, you still benefit from the blood pressure reduction and, of course, the pumps, because by opening up the capillaries and the blood flow to the muscle tissue, your pumps, besides the pumps you get in between your legs, the pumps in the muscle are going to be so much more beneficial. Yeah? And you can feed that pump with a pre-workout that contains glycerol or sodium nitrate or creatine or anadrol. Anadrol doesn't really come in a pre-workout formula, but people still take a pre-workout. So the Cialis allows for blood flow and delivery of nutrients and, vasodilation reduces the blood pressure, increases pumps. And then because you get more blood flow, it delivers more nutrients to the muscle that you're training, increasing the pumps even further. And whether those nutrients are glycerol, creatine, carbs, anadrol, or whatever PED you like to take, the blood flow delivers it better, faster, and takes the metabolic waste products away also. Because when you train, the metabolic waste product like lactic acid, CO2, maybe even some of the burned amino acids like a BUN or creatine or anything else that leaks into the bloodstream, it also gets taken away faster. So by increasing the blood flow, the body's just optimized. And by reducing the blood pressure, especially during heavy sets like heavy squats, heavy leg presses, deadlifts, T-bar rows, whatever exercise that increases the blood pressure tremendously. By maintaining your blood pressure and preventing it from climbing too much, you don't get that pressure on your kidneys. Because again, the kidneys are very susceptible to blood pressure. And when you have chronic blood pressure or, you train to failure a lot and you increase your blood pressure by training to failure or beyond it, you put a lot of pressure on your kidneys. And it's the last thing you want, because these organs, they don't really recover that well. Your liver will regenerate, but your kidneys they don't really regenerate that well. When you look at the nephrons, they're tubes, and when the tubes are damaged, they don't recover well, whereas the hepatocytes in the liver, they're cells, and they can just multiply and regenerate and fill in the space that you destroyed with oral steroids. It's not that simple, but basically what happens. Yeah? You still need a little bit of bile flow and prevent for cysts and that kind of stuff. It's a whole different story for a whole different video. Cialis has a lot of benefits to make sure your blood pressure stays in range, especially when you reach higher dosages of PED use and you start training heavier and heavier and heavier, or your body weight goes up and up and up, and all these things increase blood pressure. And then a dose of 5 milligrams of Cialis, maybe 10, maybe 20, depending on your size and the amount of blood pressure management you need. And what else you're doing to maintain blood pressure is going to be beneficial. And I run between 5 to 20 milligrams year round. So when you start using Cialis, you might get a little bit of side effects. One of them is facial flushing. So similar to niacin and beta-alanine, it opens up the capillaries, allowing for more blood flow to your face. And what happens is your body temperature will go out through your face, causing you to feel hot. And the way you can kind of compare it is that for everybody that's opened up the oven to get the pizza out, you get that blast of hot, humid air, right? And you're like, oh man, you're trying to grab the pizza like this, and then, all the air is out, and you can finally get in for a closer look. That's basically how flushing feels, but the heat is coming from your face. It's produced by itself from your internal body temperature, bringing the heat to the surface through the capillaries, heating your face, making it turn red. Some guys might get red ears, when they're nervous, or, they go from a cold place to a hot place in the winter. It happens on your face. It gets hot. It's heating the area to the point you're feeling like, why is this all this hot air in my face? It's coming from the inside of your body, and the Cialis is bringing that to the surface, similar to niacin or beta-alanine. But Cialis has a 36-hour half-life, so you're going to be flushing for a while. So when you're considering to use Cialis for blood pressure management, pumps, monster erections, start low. 20 milligrams is way too much. I don't know why they make tablets of 20 milligrams. Again, you might need a higher dose for those erections of steel. But for blood pressure management, the main reason why Cialis was researched and developed is seen at dosages as low as 5 milligrams. And the higher you go in dosages, the more facial flushing you might experience. Now, you build up a little bit of tolerance to that, so the longer you use Cialis, the less of the facial flushing is going to occur. So I don't get it anymore, but I remember when I first started taking Cialis, take 5 milligrams, you're blinking all day because all this heat is just transporting over your face. It took me about 3 or 4 months before that really went away. So I started with 5 milligrams. And just kept it there for as long as the flushing occurred. And at one point I went to 10 milligrams when the cycle facilitated it, when I needed a little bit more blood pressure management. And I prefer Cialis over any of the blood pressure medication, like a beta blocker or a lisinopril ACE inhibitor. Because with Cialis, I get the pumps and the erections, and it's a little bit easier to dose because of the long half-life, which the medical industry would say it's counterproductive. They want that 12-hour to 24-hour half-life, right? But this 36-hour half-life, if I miss a dose or I don't feel like it because I'm not training, it's still tapering off over time, allowing for blood pressure management. And then by the next time I train, I can use it again pre-workout because it does peak reasonably fast, and I still can get my pumps. Whereas with lisinopril, I just have to take that every day for blood pressure management. And if I miss a day, blood pressure goes up, but I don't get any of the benefits of the pumps and that they're erections. That's why I prefer Cialis over any other blood pressure medication. And sometimes I still need to use blood pressure medication here in Thailand because the temperature is so high. And when I'm on cycle, I notice that the Cialis is not enough to keep my blood pressure in range if I go out the whole day in a temperature that my body isn't really used to, or my genetic makeup isn't really made for, because I don't have a small Asian body that can deal with the heat. I have a big foreigner body that produces a lot of body heat. And usually when I'm outside, I'm carb loading, eating a ton of food, and blood pressure goes up. So in those days, I might still need 5 milligrams of lisinopril instead of, 10 milligrams of lisinopril instead of Cialis, which is then tapering throughout the time that I'm taking lisinopril. Okay, it's my body, my responsibility. I have a blood pressure medication. I have a blood pressure monitor to check how my blood pressure is doing throughout the days. Don't do what I do unless you have an Omron 7 that you put on your wrist. You can check your blood pressure as many times as you like. That's how I do it. That's not what you should be doing. Please. So, second side effect is gastrointestinal upset, GERD or acid reflux. And that's an unfortunate side effect of Cialis. It lowers the acidity, causing the mouth of the esophagus to open, get a little bit of the acidity after a meal. And you get heartburn and acid reflux. It's not very pleasant. The easiest way around that is by having apple cider vinegar before meals to increase stomach acidity and allow the mouth of the stomach to stay closed while it's digesting. Now, if you still get it, you can easily flush it down with water and it's not a big deal. A home remedy, you can say the Uncle Steve's home remedy is by taking ginger tea, which only works for Cialis, and it doesn't work for heartburn or acid reflux that you would get from oral steroids. So if you're not on oral steroids, this will work. If you're only on Cialis, you get a little bit of acid reflux. Ginger tea will cure it like that. I have no idea why. I just noticed it one day where I had a little bit of ginger tea. The real ginger tea, the real ginger, not from a bag, not this stuff that has an expiration date to the end of the universe. Fresh ginger, you cook it into tea, you lose a little bit of cinnamon, maybe a little bit of stevia or sugar or whatever you prefer. You make it to the point it's barely palatable. And then you drink that hot, and your acid reflux is gone for the rest of the day. No, that's a home remedy. I guess I figured that out. So you can use that home remedy or the apple cider vinegar to increase your stomach acidity. Betaine, hydrochloride, and pepsin will also do that. But I found apple cider vinegar to be a little bit more productive. And betaine always gives me some sort of weird burp. But that's a story for a different video. I think I already mentioned this in the apple cider vinegar video. All right, so long story short, Cialis for blood pressure management, pumps that their erections in a caloric surplus, because if you're in a caloric deficit and you crush your estrogen, no amount of Cialis is going to increase your libido. And if you have side effects, apple cider vinegar or ginger tea or slowly tapering the dose upwards will prevent or mitigate some of the side effects. Hope that helps. Hopes that sends you in the directions of monster pumps so you can get arms, well, maybe not this big, but at least you get a pump and they look full and veiny as well. Have a nice day, guys.